Alright, I'm going to get straight to the point. Is Moonstone Island worth playing? Basically, this is very similar to games like Harvest Moon and Stardew Valley, but it's basically Pokemon and deck building as well. It's a weird combination, but it really works in my opinion. It's definitely one of those slow burn farming games with, days and progression and daily timers and seasons. It has exploration, mines, dungeons, taming spirits for combat, harvesting, and passive abilities, and as I mentioned, the deck building combat, which I really like here. If you like all that stuff, then yeah, you're gonna like this game. I highly recommend it. But if you are interested, you want more details, stick around. I'll give you a quick summary on how the game plays, then the good and the bad stuff. Let's get started. So the story. You are a young alchemist. It's the family tradition. You have now grown of age. It's time to leave the island and go off and just train and become an alchemic master. So you end up going to a place called Moonstone Island. There you meet all of the residents. Then you're off to become a master alchemist. They teach you all the ropes of farming, fishing, taming spirits, etc. There is a deeper mystery with the magic man, this mystery guy, and his memories. So that's the story. So the gameplay. There's a lot here. I'm not going to go into everything in major detail, but here is a good overview of a lot of the things you will primarily be doing. So the routine stuff, like farming, relationship stuff, caring for spirits, taming the spirits, battling with the spirits, and then exploring islands and doing the main quest. So to go into them just slightly, the farming stuff, pretty much I like this here. You can go to any island you want, even the main island. You can make any plots you want, put your houses down because they're all connected. You're going to be using magical seeds and you're going to be growing them, watering them. It's going to take a couple days. You're going to eat them for stamina, feed them to your monsters for temporary bonuses, using them to tame things, and also just, use them for feed and money. Next up is the relationship stuff. The Moonstone Island, you got lots of NPCs in there. They all have their daily routines where they walk around. You can talk to them. You can chat, joke, flirt with them. You can give them gifts. You can go on dates. You are a female character in the game, but you can pretty much court anyone as far as I can tell. Next up, it's caring for your spirit. So a little further in the game, we're going to be getting a thing called a spirit barn. Here, you're going to be capturing any spirits that you can, putting them in here. Then you're going to be feeding them daily, brushing them. You're going to be hatching the eggs, and also you can keep them so you can switch out during battle, or not during battle, but when you want to use them. Sometimes it's a quest that an NPC wants a certain monster. But of course, one of the biggest things is you get daily resources out of them. So if you have a bunch of earth monsters you're feeding, they're going to give you daily clay and that sort of thing. Next up, it's taming. So you start with one spirits, just like in Pokemon, you get to choose between 3, and you're going to be taming other ones in battle, and they're all over the place. They're in mines, they're on, the top of islands, they're in dungeons, and then basically the different biomes show you, oh, this is where you're gonna find, like it's a poison island, so it's Thunder Island, you're gonna find thunder spirits, right? So you're gonna be using plants, and the reason why you want to get them is the aforementioned all the resources, but then they have lots of different combat stuff, abilities. So some of them work really better in combat, some of them give you daily life, like, oh, if it's raining, you run faster, you have less stamina usage. Or for an example, in combat, if this particular spirit dizzies another one, you get your mana back, etc. Really diverse in the different monsters you can, monsters or spirits, it's pretty, it's all over the place. Okay, so let's talk about the battling itself. So as mentioned, it's deck building here. So if you guys are, used to games like Slay the Spire, where you draw 5 cards, you have 3 mana, everything has a cost, and then you just activate it, and then you end your turn. That's exactly what this is. So every single monster you have, if you have one monster, you have a deck of whatever, 10, 20 cards. 2 monsters, it adds that deck in, and then 3 monsters, it adds all those decks, all those cards in. So you can basically have up to a 3v3 in combat. You have a deck, but then the monsters themselves, they don't have a deck, they have intents. So you can hover over them, and you can see exactly what they're gonna do on their turn. Like, okay, this guy's gonna bash my further monster, this one's gonna try to heal, etc. So you can work towards there. So as mentioned, just like Slay the Spire, you have armor, you have HP, you have things like dizzying, statusing, you have mana, and every time you do level up via either leveling up by walking with your monsters. There's a skill in the game where you can get by just walking around, they level up, but it's primarily through fighting and capturing. Each time they level up, you get to choose the 4 different stats to improve, whether it's armor, speed, or power, or HP. You get to choose any of that. And all the cards that you get to add in, a lot of them have different scaling. So this sort of bashing to destroy armor, this one scales off of speed, so you have to decide which of your monsters do you want to increase the stats. So also, every time they level up, you get a random choice of 3 cards. You don't have to put any of them in, because just like a deck building game, you would be clogging up their deck. So you can choose like, okay, this one's pretty good for my monster, I'm adding it in, etc. There are very special sort of consumables in the game where you do feed it to your monster, and you can remove cards, you can upgrade cards, you can add more cards. So you're not particularly stuck with just what you have leveling up. It's just a really consistent way of doing that. So yeah, that's battling. Very mechanically sound, and it's surprising that this sort of thing is in this cutesy exploration farming game, but it really works. It's a huge part of the game. Next up is exploration and quests. So, as mentioned, this is Moonstone Island. There's 100 or so islands to explore. They're not all gigantic. There's a lot of tiny ones, but each of them are really, I think they're handmade, but they're just all over the place. You get to fly to each one. You're going to be gathering different resources, fighting on there. The further you go out, the stronger the spirits are. You're going to be exploring different mines and dungeons for treasure chests, puzzles, bosses. There's a lot of various biomes. As mentioned, there's poison, thunder, water. There's a lot of stuff. So that's pretty much the game in a nutshell. Let's talk about the good and the bad stuff, starting with the good stuff. I think they really nailed the daily addictiveness that this genre is known for. There's always something to do. You can go your own pace. You're not, pressured to do anything right away. You have your own goals, but the NPCs actually give you a lot of good things to work towards, so you're never completely lost. There's always like short-term goals plus long-term goals in your quest log, so there's always something, right? And speaking of progression, there is a lot of it. Besides the spirit level and decks that I've talked about, your character has a lot of progression. Your houses, you have decoration, but you also have like workstations. You also get different stat points every single time you go to sleep in the game. Depending on what you did that day, you might level up. For example, relationship, farming, battling. You get to put 1 point in a skill tree that lasts forever, and it gives you more things to work towards. You're always uncovering new islands, so it keeps things really, really fresh. Next up, another good thing is the Pokemon aspect. Yeah, it's deck building stuff, but there's a lot of different spirits. As mentioned, 8 types, but there's a lot of them. Every time you look at one, you might like the design, you might not like the design, but you can see what level they are, and you can hover over and see their stats. What do they all do? How do they help you during combat? How do they help you during daily life? And you decide which ones you want to keep and use. And of course, the deck building. I love it. I love it. I love it. It works so well here. There's lots of strategy during combat and how to build your teams. Very easy to swap out and mess with your decks. And overall, the game is very charming. It has a great art style. It definitely has that Stardew Valley vibe. Now, moving on to the bad things. There isn't that much. It's an indie game. And what they do well, which is all the farming stuff. But there are little tiny things that are annoying. For example, I'm having constant tiny freezes throughout the whole game. It's primarily during the Moonstone Island walking around. I don't know if it's just loading, but it's like freezing, and it's very noticeable, and it gets annoying. And another thing is, I don't think there's enough NPC interaction here. Basically, yeah, they all go on their own thing, doing their daily things. And if you want any sort of progression, you're forced to go talk to each and every one of them, which is fine. But then you don't really get much else unless you ask them for dates. For example, Stardew Valley did it good, where randomly you would have different scenes. If you walk to a certain place at a certain time on a certain day, random different NPC scenes, so you can see more of their character and personality, which I really like. So far, I've been playing for like 5 to 10 hours, and not much so far that I've seen there. So yeah, that's the good and the bad. That's the game overall. Is it worth buying? Who should pick this game up? Well, are you into farming sims? Then yes, this is another great in the genre. Just know that this game is highly involved with collecting, taming and the deck building aspect. So if you are not into that, probably don't do this one. But other than that, it's good. I think it's good. It's a hidden gem. Definitely check it out. If you guys are interested, I'm running a Let's Play on my Let's Play channel down below called MabiVsGames 2. I'm uploading daily videos of this and other games I review. So thanks for watching. Come by Twitch as well. Discord, all links in the description. I'll see you guys next time.